At age 93, Robert Mugabe is running for president of Zimbabwe again. The ruling party, ZANU-PF, hopes to stretch its 37-year reign. But Mugabe's opponents see next year's election as an opportunity for change.
We are at a crossing point in Zimbabwe, whether we like it or not, and it's an inescapable crossing point. We're coming from one generation of leadership to the next generation of leadership.
And in the corridors of power, some are vying to take Mugabe's place. But does Zimbabwe want more of the same? Or is a new political era on its way? Zimbabwe's Marxist revolution has been 3 decades in the making. And Robert Mugabe remains the face of freedom from colonial rule. He gets credit for improving education and rights for Black Zimbabweans.
We are now educated. At my age, I can speak English, I can write English, I can write Shona because of President Mugabe.
He fought to liberate the citizens of this country.
I'm free, I can walk all over.
His legacy has been a powerful tool for the ruling party, ZANU-PF. But his politics have also been divisive. Shunned by the West, he's blamed for amassing power and eroding human rights. At home, the president is closely guarded, but we got a chance to see Mugabe up close. There's no doubt the world's oldest leader is frail. He makes regular medical trips abroad, but Mugabe is clinging on.
President Robert Mugabe is still seen as a hero to his supporters. But even members of his party, the ruling ZANU-PF, have a burning question. Who will succeed the 93-year-old leader?
The issue of succession is heating up. Infighting and intrigue are rocking the ruling party.
We have witnessed an escalation in as much as factionalism and factional wars. There are allegedly 2 factions within ZANU-PF. The one is reportedly led by Emmerson Mnangagwa, who happens to be vice president, and also President Robert Mugabe's top confidants. These guys are from the army. Then you also have the other faction allegedly being spearheaded by the First Lady. There are indications that there is Professor Jonathan Moyo, Zimbabwe's Minister of Higher and Tertiary Education, who also happens to be talented in terms of strategy. Lacoste, it's a faction whose ideology is rooted within the liberation struggle. And G40, it's a faction which is saying those who were at the front of spearheading that liberation struggles were within their 40s. Why are we not being allowed?
Mugabe's rule has been challenged before. Last year's anti-government protests were the largest in decades, but were quickly quashed by police. A young pastor who inspired thousands to wave their flags in the streets is now on trial for subversion. But he still walks around Harare carrying his flag.
Whenever I leave home every day with the prospect that I could end up in prison for a couple of days, because that is what has happened to me in the last couple of months. Opposition politics represents the pursuit of power and the pursuit of governance, which is okay, you know. But people like me represent mass, you know, frustration that can easily turn into mass revolt. What that means is that even if you put us in jail, no matter what it is, when we come out, if it's not fixed, we're gonna go back for it again.
As the politics heat up, so do the scandals, real or otherwise. During our week in Harare, Vice President Mnangagwa was airlifted to hospital after a suspected poisoning scare. This photo of a war veteran's t-shirt went viral, attacking the behavior of Grace Mugabe's sons, known for flaunting their luxurious lifestyle on social media. Grace Mugabe also made headlines, accused of assaulting a model in South Africa and using her diplomatic immunity to escape trial.
The South African probe has dented the First Lady's reputation here in Zimbabwe, at a time when Grace Mugabe's aspirations for power have become much more obvious.
For the opposition, it's a prime time to capitalize on the growing discontent.
It's a first family from hell. Look at the conduct of their children. Look at the conduct of the First Lady. They are bringing the country into disrepute. Look at our president himself. He can't even walk. He's 94 years, for Christ's sake. Why are you holding on? That is why the opposition must get its act together. We are in Africa, so in Africa, state institutions are captured. One could say this election is almost stolen even before we participate in it.
To boost their chances, several opposition parties have merged as the MDC Alliance, but the parties are far from united, and their leader Morgan Tsvangirai has health problems of his own.
The paradox is that the factional wars within ZANU-PF are taking place at a time the opposition is completely in disarray. If we had a strong, a better alternative, a firebrand, a formidable opposition like the one we used to have in 1999, like the one that wrestled power from Mugabe in 2008, then the guys in ZANU-PF wouldn't have time to coalesce, to group against each other, as has been the case right now.
President Mugabe has other challengers. The war veterans, Mugabe's former comrades, have turned against him and are running for election.
We will not be bothered about political parties anymore.
They want a successor with revolutionary roots, not a family dynasty.
I have a legacy to protect. I went to war, I fought the war, I won the war, and my people must benefit.
Do you think that he has changed as a man?
Of course, yes. The man who sounded revolutionary doesn't sound revolutionary anymore.
Then there's the economy. Analysts say 9 out of 10 people are out of a job. Street vendors are everywhere, selling anything to survive.
What are you selling?
I'm selling phones.
Phones, okay. And how's business?
It's low. In Zimbabwe,
ZANU-PF had promised 2 million new jobs. We brought it up with the party's spokesman.
The creation of 2 million jobs, well, yes, it's here. It's neither here nor there, because when you look at the growth of our informal sector and the support government has put to those people, oh, it's quite millions. Industries have closed because of sanctions, but people have also opened their small businesses, and we've encouraged that.
The sky-high inflation of 2008 and $100 trillion banknotes are long gone. But Zimbabwe's cash crisis remains. People still queue outside ATMs for hours to withdraw a daily ration of just $50.
Last year, the Zimbabwean government issued bond notes as a way to ease the cash crisis. Now, technically, it's not an official currency, but its value is pegged to the US dollar.
A visit to the black market, though, gave us a better picture of the going rate. Money changers sell all sorts of currencies for a commission. They say bond notes are losing their value fast.
They say if you have bonds, they make the prices higher, but if you have US, the price will go down.
The money changers told us they're working for a bigger fish. The real business here is collecting valuable US dollars off the street to feed back to the boss. Whoever they work for is getting rich. There's been some reason for optimism. We headed to the countryside to see the fruits of this year's bumper harvest. For the first time in decades, storage silos like these are all full of maize. The government says it's thanks to good rains and millions of dollars in subsidies. Instead of relying on imports, Zimbabwe may have grown enough food to feed its people.
The future for us in Zimbabwe belongs to agricultural transformation. We want to reclaim our breadbasket status. We have done that with just one good season and better planning through our command agricultural policies. We have been able to surpass even our own expectations.
But critics say the volume of crops has been distorted.
They've set the price of maize in this country at double the international price. That's messed things up enormously because it's encouraged people to import maize to sell to the local government authority, which is paying this price, which is double the international price. And so a lot of the maize arriving was not grown in Zimbabwe.
But arguably, Zimbabwe's most intractable problem and the reason behind its continued isolation is land reform, a policy Mugabe designed to correct the country's colonial past.
In Zimbabwe, my government has since 2 years ago been working on a comprehensive land reform program to redress the long-drawn historical imbalances in land distribution. Land that was largely in the hands of just about 4,500 commercial farmers has today begun to cater for up to 300,000 families.
It's a policy that's worked for some. Kindness Paradza was given this farm back in 2004. He works for the ruling party.
I've been doing well. I've been growing maize corn, which we call corn, under what we call command agriculture. So far I've delivered close to 2,800 tons to our local silos, to our national silos.
The big dam and irrigation system that came with the plot has helped make his one of the more successful in the country. But not every new farm owner has done well. More than half of Zimbabwe's irrigable farmland is non-productive and idle.
What we need is to be serious as a government to introduce a policy where we should help the black farmers who are into the land now to make sure that they understand the value of farming, the value of agriculture.
And the evictions aren't over.
We're now coming up to the farm.
Colin Nienaber lost his home over the summer. His farm had already been downsized twice.
We've been kicked off the farm. They're now occupying, there's 2 houses there. One is mine and one is my late father's house. I don't think the guys that are coming on here are genuine farmers. Led to believe that one guy is a pharmacist.
How do you feel when you look onto what used to be your farm?
Well, you know, it's home for me, and I'd like it to be home for the rest of my life. My kids have come up here, my dad grew up here, my mother's buried there. And yeah, no, it is quite sad. It's quite sad. I hope I can get it back. I'm fighting for it. But we'll see.
Mugabe's been ramping up land reform in the lead up to next year's election. He's declared that all remaining white farmers must be kicked off, and those who killed white farmers in the past won't face jail time.
It always seems to flare up just before an election, and as we have an election next year in 2018, naturally we're seeing an escalation of farm takeovers, farm invasions, issues and problems out there, yeah.
Zimbabweans are finding ways to cope. Many white commercial farmers are quietly leasing land from black landowners, even though Mugabe has banned the practice. That might be the case, we're told, on Paradza's farm.
I've heard stories that he's leased his land back to white farmers. And good luck to the white farmers and good luck to him. If I lose this place now, that's what I'll be doing.
You think there could be some kind of happy compromise?
I definitely think there could be some happy win-win situation. Well, that'd be a hard pill to swallow. But I'm a farmer, I want to farm, and if I have to share with somebody, so be it.
A post-Mugabe future will see a great deal of compromise. Whoever takes the reins will inherit a broken economy and divided society. But Mugabe plans to stick around. He's counting on young voters who make up more than half the country to re-elect him next year. Wherever we went, proud Zimbabweans seemed to rise above the despair of the past and worries of the present. We got the feeling they'll do the same, with or without Mugabe at the helm.